Have you ever driven down a road so dark, so completely isolated that the silence itself actually starts to feel heavy? Okay, let's dive into this. Tonight, we're going to visually unpack a truly chilling piece of modern folklore drawn straight from the desert archives. We're looking at Nevada's infamous Highway 50 and the dark mystery that surrounds it.
Section 1. The Loneliest Road. Now, everyone in Nevada knows about Highway 50. It famously holds the title of the loneliest road in America. But as we'll explore in this explainer, some lights out there simply do not belong to this world.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the absolute crushing isolation it represents. The year is 1987. A retired truck driver named Walter is heading home late at night across this very stretch of the Nevada desert. There is no radio signal. There are absolutely no other cars. Just black emptiness pressing intensely against his headlights and endless miles of road ahead. Imagine that extreme sensory deprivation. You are entirely alone in the void.
Section 2. The Neon Mirage. When you're suspended in that kind of pure darkness for hours on end, gripping the steering wheel, your brain really starts to ache for stimulation. And then, Walter's endless black emptiness is suddenly broken. He spots something absolutely impossible in the distance.
A brightly lit roadside diner, glowing right there in the middle of nowhere. Walter knew this route like the back of his hand. He swore up and down there was absolutely nothing on that specific stretch of road for 50 miles in either direction. No towns, no gas stations, zilch. But he was deeply tired, his eyes were heavy, he was hungry, and there it was. A structure entirely out of place, radiating this unnatural buzzing glow against the night sky.
And hanging right in the window, a neon sign blinked with a single inviting word. Open. We all know that feeling, right? Being totally mesmerized by a light in the dark, drawn to it almost against his own logic and better judgment. Walter pulled his heavy truck over to the shoulder and stepped out into the quiet, cool desert air.
Section 3. Frozen in Time. Let's move to and see how this builds, because the outside of the diner was absolutely nothing compared to the incredibly eerie atmosphere waiting for Walter the second he pushed through those heavy front doors. The inside of the diner felt completely frozen in time. Old vintage jukebox music was playing softly in the background, but here's the detail that should make the hairs on your arms stand up. Hot, fresh coffee was steaming out of mugs, sitting right there on the tables, yet every single table was completely empty. No clinking silverware, no hushed conversations. There were no customers at all, just the fresh, steaming evidence of them. And then, from behind the counter, a waitress appeared. She slowly walked up, looked directly at Walter, flashed a perfect, deeply unsettling smile and said, "We've been expecting you."
Section 4. The Wall of Faces. Hearing those bizarre words, Walter felt a sudden, profound chill run straight down his spine. The artificial warmth of the diner vanished. Instinctively looking away from the waitress's unblinking gaze, his attention was immediately drawn to the peculiar decor covering the wall right beside him.
The wall was entirely covered in photographs, dozens, maybe hundreds of them, pinned edge to edge. Walter slowly stepped closer, his eyes meticulously scanning the images. They were photos of past customers, all looking directly at the camera lens, and all wearing frozen, identical smiles. The tension in the quiet room was suffocating as he searched this sea of faces, desperately looking for a rational explanation.
And this brilliantly illustrates the true nightmare of the situation. Right there, pinned among the smiling strangers, he sees a face he intimately recognizes. It's his own face. But the terrifying realization isn't just that his picture is inexplicably hanging in a diner he's never visited. It's that it's not a photo of Walter as he looked right then, standing there in 1987. It was a photograph of Walter looking older. Much, much older. Decades older. Staring right back at him, frozen with that exact same identical smile from the wall of this impossible diner.
Section 5. The Escape. Pure survival instinct violently kicked in. Panic seized his chest. He didn't speak a single word to the smiling waitress. He didn't dare take a second look at the wall. He just turned on his heel and immediately bolted for the door, bursting out into the freezing cold desert night air.
But the exact second his boots hit the dirt, he spun around. The diner was gone. Completely gone. No flickering neon sign, no faint vintage music pouring out of an open door, no structure at all.
He was standing in absolute pitch blackness.
Only the desert. There were no glowing lights in any direction. There was no building whatsoever, just the silent, dead, empty stretch of Highway 50, exactly as it had been before he ever pulled over.
Section 6. The Missing Years. Shaken to his absolute core, Walter scrambled back into his truck, locked the heavy doors, and floored the gas. He drove as fast as the engine would take him, until the sun finally breached the horizon, driving until he finally reached the safety of his own familiar driveway.
But the safety of home offered no comfort at all. When Walter finally walked up to his own house, the front door violently swung open. His wife was standing there, but she wasn't just relieved to see him. She was in absolute hysterics. She was desperately crying, shaking uncontrollably, looking at him as if she had just seen a ghost walk up her front steps.
So the crucial point is understanding Walter's reality in this moment. In his mind, he had simply pulled over at a strange diner, got deeply spooked, and drove straight home. He firmly believed, without a shadow of a doubt, that he had only been delayed by roughly 1 single hour.
But as his weeping wife finally caught her breath long enough to speak, Walter was forced to confront an impossible, universe-breaking reality. How long was he really gone?
7 years. When we drive through those vast empty spaces in the dead of night, are we simply traveling through miles, or are we sometimes traveling through time itself? Keep your eyes on the road. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.